everybody, and welcome to Bingefest. I'm Vinnie Civitillo.
And I'm Kay Conroy.
This is a brand new podcast where we're going to be binging a season or two of TV every episode and discussing it. You'll be able to get this anywhere you can get a podcast. That's iTunes, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. But please don't forget to engage. Write that 5-star review, like it, comment on it. Let Google's algorithm know you're out there so the show gets put in front of more awesome people just like you.
We appreciate it, and we will see you here every other week. All right, Vin, what are you currently binging?
It's gonna be forever that I'm saying this, but I'm going back and forth between Modern Family and Gilmore Girls. Those two shows just never seem to end.
I
It's a
know.
font that never runs out. But
I
I guess
know.
for the sake of talking about something new on this show, I did watch Echo a few weeks ago.
What's that?
Um, Echo is the Disney Plus Marvel thing. Um,
Oh, I was this close to watching it, and then I got distracted by something and forgot all about it and watched something else instead. How was it?
it's not bad. It's I think in general, I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe has kind of run its course, and now even when like pretty good things come out, we're just like, yeah, why?
Right.
This is not awesome. It's not terrible either. It's about wow, I can't even remember her name at this point. It's Echo, but she was she's a Native American who has powers bestowed upon her by ancient ancestor Native Americans, and she's deaf, so the most of the show is in sign language.
Oh,
um yeah, the the villain is Kingpin from
yeah.
Daredevil, so Vincent D'Onofrio, who is an amazing
He's great.
actor. And yeah,
Yes.
he's kind of playing it where, like, I mean, I don't know if this is spoilery to say, but if you watched Hawkeye, which was the Hawkeye Disney
Yeah.
Plus TV show. I'm I'm gonna spoil the end of this. So if you're listening to this and you're like, "Whoa, I don't want Hawkeye spoiled," I'm gonna give you like just mute the audio for like 5 seconds. Ready, set, go. At the end of Hawkeye, Echo shoots Kingpin in the face. Um, so he's presumably dead. End of spoilers here, I guess. I mean, in order, if you've seen a trailer for Echo, then you've seen him in it. He is
Yeah.
still alive. Post whatever happened in Hawkeye. I'm not talking about that anymore now that people are back. Um, so it's weird. Like, he has a father-daughter relationship with her, even though she's not his daughter. He kind of more like secondarily raised her, So she hates him now because like she sees through all of his lies,
Yeah.
and he's trying to. It seems like legitimately earn her trust back, but he's still kind of a slimy, evil dude. So
He's a bad guy.
yeah, he's a bad guy. So there's that. I mean, it's fine. It's another one of these shows that we don't necessarily need.
Yeah.
I think at this point, what I really want is like an Avengers movie that can just kind of tie all of this together and show me why I'm watching all of these new origin stories. Because I think that's where people really start to like this stuff. And without it, it's just kind of meh.
The problem is that's never going to happen because now the Disney is in charge. They're just going to keep pumping out schlock because it will make them money.
I mean, there is an Avengers movie coming. All the multiverse stuff is
I
coming to like a crescendo.
I mean, I feel like if they invested in quality writing, that would go a long way because they've got these really huge stars in some cases.
Yeah.
And the writing is shoddy, which means the story is terrible, which means you're watching these explosions happen without any kind of plot line to tie it all together. And I mean, that's fun when you're at a certain age, but for adults, it's boring.
Yeah, I think the story really ended with Endgame. Like Avengers
Right,
Endgame happened like, I don't know, 2018, 2019, somewhere in that range. And to just keep going after that, I mean, we need
right.
something compelling. We need something to really get us engaged and go, "Oh yeah," and they're not delivering on that. I think part of the problem with this multiverse saga that they're doing is that it's neat when you get to see like a Toby Maguire show up in the Spider-Man suit
Yeah,
and go, "Oh man, Toby
yeah,
Maguire, I love
right.
that." But that's me. like a lot of the kids watching this stuff never saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie like 20 years ago,
That's
or don't
bananas.
remember it or don't care about it. Like
Yeah.
their Spider-Man is Tom Holland. They don't care about that stuff. So, they just don't have the audience the way they think they have the audience. And this has gone on way too long now. And there's just so much of it that you have to keep up with. Like for me, who was kind of a fan of all this stuff, to be saying, like, I just don't want to be keeping up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe anymore, even though, I am.
Enough.
It's not a great sign for them.
No, it's not. You are their demographic and you're ambivalent about the product they're delivering to you.
Yeah. And it's not like Disney Plus is pumping out anything else that's that much better right now. Like the
I
Star Wars stuff,
know.
I kind of feel the same way. I want Star Wars to go away, come back when I miss it. And their traditional Disney stuff. Like what have they done in recent times that's been on Disney Plus? I remember Disenchanted, the sequel to
Right.
Enchanted came
Right.
out, and I was kind of excited about that. It's not like Disenchanted really lit the world on fire, but it was
No.
at least something from like the not Star Wars, not Marvel camp.
Yeah. I actually just rewatched Love and Thunder and forgot how much I mean that's probably my favorite Marvel movie in the last I don't know how many years. I mean, I loved not Daredevil. What was the red suit with the mask? Wade, not Daredevil. With Smart Mouth.
Oh,
Doesn't
Deadpool.
matter.
Wade Wilson.
Deadpool.
Sorry. I don't I you know what? You're talking Marvel. That's Marvel Fox. I don't know why I didn't like put those two together. Yeah.
It's too much for me to have to keep track of that. That's what you're for. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say
I mean, I
Love and Thunder
am
was
very
great.
much looking forward to Deadpool 3. They've been teasing.
Seriously. Seriously. But I think that the only reason Love and Thunder was so good is because they invested in Taika Waititi as the writer who made it a brilliant, funny movie that had so much heart. Like, how
I
do
don't
you
know that
not?
I would call Love and Thunder brilliant.
I thought it
it's,
was
it's
brilliant.
it's
I
fine. It's
okay,
cute. It's funny,
no,
but it's not
no,
as good as Ragnarok, which is the one that came before it, which was directed by.
disagree,
Oh,
disagree, because you have a villain who turns out to be the protagonist by the end. Like, he really just wanted to save his daughter. He became a
yeah.
villain because of these horrible circumstances. And in the end, they won him back. And his daughter came back to life. Sorry, spoiler alert, but I loved it. I thought that was so much heart.
I don't know that it matters if we spoil Marvel stuff anymore. They
I
make
guess you're
something
right.
new every 2 weeks. Actually, I will say this to their credit. I just watched The Marvels and I adored that. It was hilarious. It was awesome. I loved it.
Okay.
And that has not gotten great public,
No.
response. Or I don't know. It's set the record for the lowest box
Oh,
office from a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And to be honest, why wouldn't it? Because we're paying Disney Plus so much. We know that this stuff is going to come to Disney Plus in a few months. Why would I, go out to the theaters
yeah.
and, pay
That's
whatever the theater is charging to see something like this?
I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you because I don't go to the theater. But I will say that has been on my list and I had heard nothing about it. And that's why I didn't watch that. That's why I watched Love and Thunder. So I guess I'm going to watch The Marvels very soon.
Yeah, I don't know that it's on Disney Plus yet. I bought it.
Oh, no, I think it
I
is.
Oh, okay. Well, if it is, check it out. I mean, I loved it. It was great. So I don't
Nice.
know if you watched Ms. Marvel before this.
Yes. The
Okay.
backstory of Carol, right?
No, Carol is Captain Marvel. Ms. Marvel would be the
Oh,
backstory of Kamala Khan.
no. Is that
Oh,
also on Disney Plus?
yeah, that was a show from like a
Okay.
few years ago. It's only a few episodes. It's pretty good. Takes place right here in my home state, Jersey City, New Jersey. So
Okay.
cool
So
stuff.
I'm going to watch Ms. Marvel and then I'm going to watch The Marvels.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Did you
Thank
see
you.
WandaVision?
Loved it. Loved
Okay.
WandaVision.
All right,
Yes.
because there's three main characters in the Marvels, and it's Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and then Monica Rambeau, who was she was in WandaVision. She's the one that like forces her way through the wall, and she gets powers as a result of that. She's Captain Marvel's best friend's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Wait though, here's a question for you. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Whatever happened to Agatha? Because my favorite part of WandaVision was it was Agatha all along.
Yeah. Um, she's getting her own show allegedly. I mean, they've changed the name of it like 4 or 5 times. It's apparently still coming.
She's a
Um,
Scarlet Witch, right? I think. No.
no, Elizabeth Olsen is the Scarlet Witch.
Oh, right.
Agatha is just Agatha Harkness. I don't know that she has like an evil character name.
Really? Oh, she
She
deserves
might.
it.
I never got super into Scarlet Witch's comics. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
it
care.
was cool when they like pulled her into like the big universe stories, but
Yeah. I
otherwise,
just really like Catherine Hahn. And I thought what she
yeah,
did with that character was so fun.
yeah,
Oh my God. She stole every scene she was in. It was fantastic.
yeah. So what have you been binging?
All right. Well, this is pretty old school. Like you probably don't remember this show,
Oh boy,
but
here we go.
I know. Do you know who Bob Newhart is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was on a show called Newhart. And what's funny about the show, other than, the plot and the situations and the writing and everything, is
Sure.
that Newhart is Bob Newhart's last name. But
All
on
right.
the show, his
I
name
cracked
was,
that code.
yeah, did you?
Yeah.
On the show, his name is Bob Loudon.
Uh,
He and his wife are Bob and Joanna Loudon, and they buy the Stratford Inn in Stratford, Vermont, and they move up from New York City to be innkeepers. They sell everything, and so it's a little fish out of water story plus like crazy neighbor characters, and it is very, very dry and funny, but it is super weird that the name of the show is Newhart and nobody on the show is called Newhart except for the main actor's real last name.
think I've seen stuff like that before, where like
Yes.
a big name actor does it, but they don't name the. Yeah, I can't give you an example off the top of my head, but it's
Me
not
neither.
unusual. Yeah.
It's not, but it hasn't happened in recent memory. I feel like this is like an 80s phenomenon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
because the show starts in 1982 and it goes, I want to say 5 or 6 years. And it's actually where Peter Scolari had a job way back in the day. It was like his first or second acting job. Um, right after
Help me out.
Bosom
Who's Peter
Buddies.
Scolari? I'll Google it on the side
Peter
while we talk.
Scolari got his start on Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks. They played cross dressers who
I
couldn't
don't
find a
recognize this
place to.
guy at all. I'm
Really?
looking at the picture on Google. Yeah, like I don't recognize this guy
Peter
at all.
Scolari. He died recently. He was on Girls. Did you watch the HBO show Girls?
No.
Jeez Louise, hold on. Let me find his IMDb.
I mean, he's in some movies. I'm looking at the filmography now. He was in some stuff that I've seen, like Sorority Boys, That Thing You Do, Polar Express. But nothing's really coming to mind that I would be like, oh yeah, of course he's that guy. Now I'm looking at the TV shows. Family Ties. I haven't seen that since I was after one
He
episode.
was a very, very strong character actor for a very long time. In fact,
Yeah.
God, I'm looking at this filmography. He was working right up until he passed away, but he got a start in like the early 80s. I think Bosom Buddy was his first show.
I'm
No,
looking at
it
this
wasn't.
filmography and everything is like one episode, one episode, one episode.
Yeah,
So it looks like, he was that guy that you bring in, to play a good part for one
character
show and then
actor. Hmm.
is that
Happy
what it is? All
Days.
right.
He was on Happy Days. Holy
Everybody was
crap.
cool.
Anyway, I've been binging Newhart because it is
Cool.
very light, very silly, and it's nostalgic. I remember watching it like live when I was growing up. Like it was a Thursday night show, I think.
Wow, that you can even remember that. I mean, the only stuff I would really remember in that way would be like TGIF shows, like just
This is
by nature of the fact that it
pre-TGIF.
was TGIF. Yeah. Yeah.
Pre-TGIF. Yeah. Anyway, it takes very little effort to like watch that show. It's
So
just
what made you decide to just jump into Newhart? Like,
because I have a what's the thing you plug into your TV? A Fire Stick. I have a Fire
Sure.
Stick, and when I go to the homepage, it gives me stuff that it thinks I might like. And Newhart was on there, and I kind of ignored it for a week or so, and then I was like, God, I wonder if Newhart is still funny. Like, I wonder if it lives up to, because some
Sure.
things
I mean, a
don't
lot of
age
things
well.
haven't necessarily aged. Yeah. I think I heard once that comedy ages about it has the shelf life of milk. And
Yes.
that's as true as it gets. There are so few comedies that really still ring true today, but yeah.
Yes. And, Bob Newhart, his trademark is this very deadpan, dry wit. And it's, it it's not aged perfectly, but it has aged okay enough that I can watch a couple of episodes before switching to Modern Family, which is my before bed show.
Where are you in Modern Family?
Somewhere at the end of season 4.
Okay.
So Haley's kicked out of college, and Joe has been born, and let me think. I think, yeah, right around there. So Lily
Okay.
has lines now. Before, she was just a baby in somebody's arms, and now she's actually having these smart alecky
Yeah, she would always
comments,
have like one-liners, like
but like really mean ones.
yeah, I don't want to go down the Modern Family rabbit hole. We'll definitely
So
have a show
many.
dedicated to Modern Family at some
Yes.
point. But the one thing that I keep thinking about whenever I hear Lily deliver some like really terrible line is just what did they do to this kid? Like I'd like to know if this kid grew up like in a good place, because like they basically told, like how you can train somebody to know that certain behavior is okay. They basically
Yes.
trained her to know that like the more of a bitch you are, like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
funnier you are, like the more attention you're gonna get. I wonder if like now she's just like super sarcastic and just awful.
I don't,
But
I hope not. But
I hope not.
speaking of which, the episode I watched last night was Sal getting married. And
Yes, he knows what I meant. That clicked in my head. So.
yes, also, oh, sorry you couldn't make it to my wedding. It was no kids. That's okay. I'll go to your next one.
Yeah,
It's so funny. Like, she's just so shady. It's great.
yeah.
It's really great.
All right, but we're here today to talk about what we do
Speaking
in
of
the shadows, right?
shady,
Yeah. Speaking of shady, that's a
speak
good transition.
I know, right? What we do in the shadows is ostensibly why we're here today. We're going to talk about what we do in the shadows. And so I'm just going to give a little background on what we do in the shadows, because Taika Waititi is a genius. But I feel like until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he was so underrated that nobody had ever heard of him. But what we do in the shadows is a movie that he did with Jermaine Clement of that HBO show not Wild Things. I don't even know. I don't even know what the name of it is because
They
I
made
never
an
watched it.
HBO show about Wild Things.
No.
This is
It
like the
was
Denise Christopher
Flight. It was Flight of the Concords. Do you remember the
Richards. Sorry, no,
Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, that's the show that Jermaine Clement was in, and Jermaine Clement was the co-writer, co-producer, and co-star in What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, which is a mockumentary style film set in New Zealand about 4 vampires house share a house. And they get into like petty fights and arguments about who's going to do the dishes. And because they're
how'd you
vampires,
do?
when they get into these fights, they can turn into a bat and like attack each other. It is so funny. And one of them has a familiar who does all the housework and who goes out and gets victims for them. And when they go out to bars and stuff, they have to be invited in. So they're usually like talking to the bouncer, and the bouncer needs to say they're just the right thing. It is just hilarious and sometimes even adorable. Like, there are moments they'll be walking down the street and they'll be coming at a pack of not vampires, werewolves. And so they're like posturing. It's like 2 gangs coming up against each other. And I literally cannot say enough about how funny this movie is. And it's purely mockumentary. And so the crew filming them is in danger at some points.
Yeah.
But they have an agreement that they'll be safe, and the crew has to just trust that they're not going to be murdered and eaten by these
Sure.
vampires. It's funny. And so the show, What We Do in the Shadows, is basically a spinoff. Like it's not a sequel.
Because we
So there's
can't just watch a New Zealand thing and be like, this is fine. We need to make it American, right? Like that's
but
how we work.
it is the best kind of American though. It's
Sure.
set in Staten Island of all places. And the four vampires are four new vampires, and one of them is a woman because the two of them are a couple. They're a married couple. And one of them is an energy vampire, which then you do a better job of explaining what an energy vampire is than I
So
do.
this essentially, I mean, you wouldn't be the one to correct me if I'm wrong, but like, let's say in the audience, if I'm wrong about this, by all means, let me know. But I don't believe that the energy vampire predated this movie or show, I should say. I think this is an original idea that they came up with for this. He doesn't actually feed on, like blood. He
Right.
feeds on your energy. And when I say that, you would think, you hopping around like on caffeine is energy. It's actually
No.
the opposite. Like him boring you to death is his version of, feeding on you. And they have come up with some really hilarious scenarios for how that can play out over the last 5 years. And I mean, I think it's interesting because the other vampires, I mean, maybe because it's a TV show, you don't really see them feeding. Like in the movie, I think they did it. But
Yeah.
in the TV show, like if it's happened once, maybe okay, fine. But like
Yeah.
you really don't see it like all the time. Whereas
There's
Colin
no gore.
Robinson, the energy vampire is feeding all the time. He's like a crack addict. Like,
Constantly.
yeah, even on his friends, like anything, any opportunity he gets, he's just constantly at it. Um,
Yes.
I think my favorite episode in the entire history of the show, it was a episode from one of the previous seasons. He thinks he's getting fired at work because he doesn't do anything. Like he doesn't even really officially work there. He just shows up because work is a great place to feed on board people.
Yeah.
And it turns out they're promoting him and he's management now. And the amount of opportunity there for him to just like feed, like force people to listen to him. Because it's one thing when you're just another employee, people can be like, I gotta go. But when you're the boss, like, people are kind of stuck listening to your 200-page PowerPoint or your corny jokes or whatever. And it is
Yeah.
just so funny. Like he becomes more powerful than he ever has. Like his hair grows back. He
Yeah.
starts levitating.
He's
Like,
levitating around the office and nobody notices because nobody wants to make eye contact with him. But
yeah,
that's how powerful he becomes.
yeah.
There were some really nice homages, I guess, to Office Space, that movie about how work is death.
Yeah.
And he'll just be, wandering slowly around the office with his coffee cup and he'll put one butt cheek on your desk and be like, "So how was your weekend?"
Yeah.
And
Somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
oh my goodness, it is just wonderful.
Yeah.
And so one of the funniest things about the dynamic between him and the three other vampires is they had or have an understanding that they never feed on each other or each other's relations or
I
but
don't think they can. I don't think a vampire can feed on another vampire. Like I
no,
think that's established.
but like they would never feed on Colin. They would never feed on Colin's relatives, and Colin
All right.
shouldn't feed on them,
Right.
but he does constantly.
Yeah.
And they're almost always calling him on it. They're
Yeah.
like, make this guy stop reading the newspaper. Oh my God, I want to kill myself. But they can't kill themselves. They're immortal. And he just
Sure.
thinks it's freaking
They can
hilarious
totally kill
to.
themselves. There are many ways to kill a vampire.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right. I take that back. You're
but
right.
there was another one. I mean, like, just speaking of how often he's like feeding on like other vampires, there was an episode, it was either in the last season or the season before. He wanted to try to find out the origin of energy vampires. So he goes to see other energy vampires and he's asking them about it. And they're like, dude, you're feeding on us now. And he's like, no, I'm being dead serious. Do you not genuinely want to know where we come from?
I forgot about that.
This
Another highlight.
season,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say this season he winds up in front of like the Council of Energy Vampires or something, and it's just hilarious the way that they keep like the microphone's not working. They're like, "Wait, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Right.
Can you hear me now? We've got a 500-page PowerPoint that we want to get through." um,
One of the best subplots in and I feel like we're only talking about Colin, but we will get to everybody else. But
yeah,
Vanessa Bayer as his love interest
Oh
slash
yeah, the romance
um
or the emotional energy vampire.
yeah, like
Yeah,
that was something to behold.
yeah,
And then she became his enemy, and then she helped him run for office.
yeah.
So funny.
I feel
Which can
like
you
they're
imagine?
hitting because they know they're going off the air next year. Like next
Yes.
year's the last season. I feel like they're trying to hit every angle with these energy vampires they can. It's like we're not going to leave anything on the table for anybody else to make a movie about this concept and have like,
No.
you know.
Oh my God, it's amazing. All right, so we should talk about the other vampires. There's
Sure.
two men and a woman. Nadia and Laszlo are married.
Right.
And oh my gosh, what is his name? Nandor.
Andor. Yeah.
Nandor the Relentless is the fourth, and the familiar Guillermo belongs to Nandor,
Right.
but Guillermo does tasks for everybody in the house,
Yeah.
resentfully, usually.
So
But
in this series in particular, um, the concept of the familiar is that they really want to be turned into vampires themselves.
right,
And so the idea is I'm going to work for you and then sooner or later you're going to turn me. But for whatever reason in this lore, you know, they never turn them. Like
right.
all of the familiars always greet up and it's always the same thing. Like they get old, they die, like they never got turned. So this season in particular, the story arc is that Guillermo took it upon himself to ask one of his friends, like, because his friend that works at whatever store that was, it looks like a Home Depot or a Staples or something. They were like, you know, hey, do you mind turning me into a vampire? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, whereas like the other ones are, you know, invested into like the culture and the lore and all the
Right.
like, no, we don't do that kind of a deal. Um, and it kind of works. You know, I wouldn't say that it 100% works. So Guillermo's kind of like half vampire, half human in the sense that like Blade is half vampire, half human.
Well, he's turning. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't an overnight process for him. So
right.
he's turning
Whereas it
and
is for
he
everybody else in their world. Yeah,
yeah. And Guillermo quickly realizes that he doesn't actually want to be a vampire because of all the murder that's involved.
yeah,
He's got too soft of a heart, which is so adorable.
yeah.
Guillermo is lovely. Which begs the question. It's funny that he's been able to like clean up all the dead bodies over the years because
Right. And
there's
I
been
mean,
a
it's
few.
not just cleaning them up. He's the one that's luring everybody to them, right? Like
Yeah, that's right.
he's got to constantly. I mean, in the beginning of the show, they made a real point to talk about how they have to be virgins because they were
Yeah.
like, imagine, you know, you're eating a sandwich and imagine you want to eat the same sandwich, but now somebody's put their dick in it. Like, you know, that's why we prefer to eat virgins. Like, so Guillermo constantly has to go out looking for virgins for them to eat. I mean, your blood, you got blood on your hands just from that. Okay, let's not
Totally.
pretend you're innocent in all of this.
100%. Yeah, Guillermo definitely has blood on his hands. But it was really interesting him coming face to face with like having to put his mouth on a body and like feed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Plus the fact that Nandor was would have been furious had he
yeah,
figured it out. And, devil's advocate, if I were a vampire, I wouldn't want to turn my familiar either because you've got full-time maid
yeah,
for free,
yeah,
somebody who gets you your dinners for free, somebody who knows everything about you that you could want somebody to know to help you get through life. Why would you want to turn that person into a vampire? You'd lose them completely.
yeah. So that's a big central part of the story arc this season is that Guillermo is slowly turning in a world where you're not supposed to slowly turn. So something is wrong. But he can't talk about it with anybody because the
Right.
second he kind of feels them out, he's like, what would you say if I had maybe gotten turned by someone else? They're like, oh, well, that would be the biggest disgrace of all time, and we'd have to kill both you and ourselves. And he's like, oh, I see. Okay. So that's kind of the story this season.
Wait. Can we talk a little bit about the connection? So if you turn me
Mhm.
and then you die, I
Right.
also die.
Uh,
I
yeah.
think.
I
I
don't know if
think.
it's actual death. I think I think you would become human. I'm trying to remember that.
I could have sworn they said
I
that
mean,
this
there are
season, but
lots of different vampire stories where the rules are different. I don't know if you know who John Landis is because you don't really watch horror movies, but John
no, I
Landis was the
don't.
director of An American Werewolf, and he also did
Oh,
Michael Jackson's Thriller. And
Okay.
his son Max Landis once asked him, about like various like writing traps he was falling into, and his dad was like, well, "Let me ask you this: how do you kill a vampire?" And he goes, "A stake to the heart, the sunlight." He's like, "No, you're wrong. You can kill a vampire however you want because vampires don't fucking exist." So as a result, he's like, you just write your story however you need your story to play out. Like in your
Right.
story, if vampires need to die from orange juice, then that's how they die. And as a result of that, there are many different rules and many different lores and all
Okay.
that.
Got it.
So, I mean, it's hard to say what would happen when like the person who turns you dies. They have implied that it would be very, very bad, but I
Yeah.
don't think they outright said all of us would die. Because
I
they
thought
all
they
come from the same vampire too. Like I think, or
Baron, the
or the
Baron.
same like family tree. Let's say, yeah. So I think what they said was like they would become powerless, like they would just become mortal, which may be how this show ends up. We'll see. I don't know, but
Oh my
we've
God.
got
Can you
another year to find
imagine?
out. It would be
That'd
a
be
really
pretty funny.
dark ending if they all just died.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that at all. Um, I feel like it didn't happen this season, but I want to talk about Jackie Daytona. What do you
Oh my
think?
god, that was a fantastic episode.
It was one of the best episodes there's ever been.
And I mean,
And
it's so indicative of like Laszlo's character, like to just run away like at the first sign of trouble.
I don't even remember what the trouble is. He
So
gets into
somebody came
trouble.
back to town. I think it was like Mark Hamill was some other
Yeah.
vampire or
Mark
something,
Hamill
and
guest
he had
stars
done
in this
something.
show.
Yeah, he had done something to wrong him in some way. I can't
That's
remember what
right.
it was.
That's right.
And Mark Hamill comes back, and they're gonna fight to the death. And the second they get down to it, Laszlo's like that, and he like flies away. And rather than like maybe just like hiding out until things blow over, he like assumed an entirely new identity as some bartender named Jackie Daytona or whatever it was.
In like Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
And he owns a bar now because the
yeah,
bar owner has been murdered and put in a dumpster, right? Like
sure.
he's just gone. And he's such a successful and friendly bartender, Jackie Daytona. He sponsors the local volleyball team.
Yeah, you got to get involved in the community, right?
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this season, so
Yes.
what were your favorite moments or favorite episodes? What did you like? What did you not like?
So anything that Nadja does, I am down for. I think she is one of the funniest characters I've ever seen on television.
Absolutely. Um,
So when she was like volunteering at the Greek restaurant or working there or just hanging
yeah,
out
trying to
there,
connect with her past or whatever.
oh my God, genius. Comedy gold, just so funny.
I actually okay, so the big thing I didn't like this season involved her. Maybe a missed opportunity rather than something I didn't like, but there was an episode where she and Colin Robinson merged for all of like 12 seconds. And I was like, whoa, what are we stopping this for? Like
Yeah,
this is an opportunity for some real humor here. And you guys are just
I
brushing it under
forgot
the
about
table and
that.
it's done before, it really had an opportunity to bloom. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, where are we going with this? Because this sounds awesome. And then it was over.
it was done. I forgot about that. It was so quick. I forgot.
Yeah.
I didn't love the episode where they're hunted. Like they go to that estate. Oh my God, I'm not going to remember the details anymore. Does this not ring a bell to you? They're
Actually
tricked
not.
into going to a different house in the country for a country party, but it turns out that they're being hunted by um not the Baron, but somebody like other vampires. I don't know. I didn't love
I don't
that
know why this
episode.
is not ringing a bell for me. Like I just
Hold on,
watched
I'm
this
Googling it.
a couple weeks ago.
I'm
Um,
Googling it. A weekend at Morrigan Manor. Housemates are invited for a weekend away at the home of a mysterious, illustrious vampire. The housemates are invited for, yeah.
Oh, right. That was where Kristen Shaw like invited them to the thing, right? Where
Yes.
like she got the invite and she was like, "Yeah, come on." Okay, I remember that now. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
like the person who has the parties so exclusive, like nobody gets invited at all. Which, by the
Yeah.
way, is exactly how like a party I throw would work out. Not sending out any invites. It's just gonna be me and a cake.
That's the best.
Yeah. What was another great one? The thing where the weather like there was some kind of like typhoon or like a major storm or something, and on the they were interviewed on TV or something,
The local
and
news.
yeah, and they like told her they basically told her like vampires exist. but like, it's in a way that like you could totally be like, all right, yeah, whatever. But
Right.
they
That
take
was the
it like
best.
so far. They start freaking out, and Guillermo's not there, and I think he sees it on TV, and he's like, oh god, I gotta get back there.
Yeah. The show is a winner because when they interact just with each other, it's fantastic. And then when you put them in real life situations like being interviewed by the local news, it is
Yeah,
so funny. There was oh my God, do you remember the episode previous season when they go to not Vegas, Atlantic
Atlantic
City?
City. That is one of the best episodes in the whole show.
Holy God, it's so funny.
Yeah,
Just the ridiculousness. So, Atlantic City, the gaudiness of that whole scene, plus them not being able to like understand what's going on, and
right.
they forget to bring like the soil from their
Yeah,
homeland.
yeah. I've been wondering about that a lot, actually. I don't know, like if
Uh,
I were a vampire,
yeah.
do I need soil from anywhere in America? Does it have to come from like where I live now? I was born in the Bronx. Like, does it have to be from the Bronx? Like, I'm very curious about this. I want to know. I want to know.
That's a
If you're
really good
out there and
question.
you know a lot about vampires, comment. Let me know.
And no shade on the Bronx, but where do you find soil? Like, is there a community garden?
The Bronx is getting very gentrified. You can
Okay, I believe
Yeah, like
that.
there's only so much land close to Manhattan that was gonna be like non-gentrified for long.
Yeah. Is the
It was
Bronx the new
Brooklyn
Brooklyn?
first and then Queens and now the Bronx and yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Too funny. All
So
right.
I guess as a whole, I really enjoyed the season. I really enjoy every season of the show.
Yes.
It's a shame that next year is gonna be the last, but at the same time, I don't want it to go on too long and then just be like another
I
season of
know.
this.
I look forward to owning this when it finishes and then being able to rewatch it from start to finish once a year.
Sure.
Because that it's just so funny. And I don't see it going out of style. I don't see the jokes running stale. It's good.
I mean, there's nothing about it that's super topical. Like none of the
No.
episodes, like Laszlo's whole thing is just that he's like this extreme sex addict, and
Yes.
everything he does is either like extreme sex addict or like weirdly scientist. Like
Right.
he did a whole year trying to study the energy vampire thing, and
Hmm.
this year he does a whole year trying to study Guillermo's situation and the stuff that comes out of that. I mean, is just
Right.
so weird. Like just
Right.
so weird. Like the animals that get created, and like, oh God.
What about those little animals? Those poor
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's funny
Yeah.
and crazy
So
though.
so obviously this is one we would recommend to you.
Yes.
Um hopefully next year we'll be able to do a show on season 6 and the finale wrap up.
Yeah. I don't know that we'll ever do previous seasons, but we've
We
given
don't
enough
need to. I
highlights.
think this is one of those shows where I don't want to say if you've seen one season, you've seen them all, but it's every season is it if I were to just spoil the end of this season, it wouldn't matter at all. It's not a
Right.
story driven. There is a season story arc in every season, but it's really more about the humor. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, you could just watch it front to end. And yes, there are seasons, but it doesn't matter. It's just all one
No.
big block.
Agree.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Highly
So
recommended.
highly recommended. We haven't talked about this, but what's next?
Well, I was
'Cause
thinking,
we got to tell the audience what to catch up on before our next episode.
I know. What do you think about Reservoir Dogs? Because that was the show that I accidentally thought we were going to talk about today, and it just finished.
When you say it just finished, you're not talking about there being like new episodes in quarter 4, 2023, quarter 1, 2024, right?
September of 2023.
Huh.
It wrapped like that is a done show. That
Right. I
show is
knew
not
that,
coming
but I
back.
feel like I'm trying to remember if I saw so are you talking about like let's say just the last season, like to
Yeah.
watch that? All right. Yeah,
Well,
that's fine.
yeah. I
Because I
would watch
feel
the
like I watched it, but I got to go back and look at what the last thing I watched was. Like, I
okay.
feel like the thing that I saw was very series finale esque, but September is pretty recent. I don't feel like I
I
remember
know.
it being that recent. So.
So the end of season 2 was when an episode. Oh God, I don't want to spoil it. California is involved.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
that might be the last thing I saw because that felt very season finale or
it
series
did.
finale, yes.
It did, but the series finale actually happened in Oklahoma,
Okay.
back on the res,
Sure.
and it was a big community thing.
Okay.
It was great.
All right, I'll watch. I'll watch.
And each of the dogs, as they are called,
That's awful.
I know, they each get their own standalone episode in season 3, which they didn't get in previous seasons, I don't think.
I tend to not like that kind of thing. Like,
Really?
I feel like, what makes a show work is the dynamic between the characters.
Yeah,
And when you start, I don't know. I'm sure they did it very well. I'm sure I'm going to like it.
they did. But I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
All right.
Yeah, and stay tuned because upcoming episodes are going to be about Scott Pilgrim.
Did you finish that?
I did.
Cool.
I did. And why we won't be doing Chucky.
Yeah.
I literally
Fair
got
enough.
10 minutes into season
10
1, episode
minutes.
1, and I was like, nope, click.
I was so bummed when I got that text too because it's
I'm
such a good show
sorry.
and I wasn't sure if like you were texting me that because you just hated it like it sucked or
No,
if
the
like
tension
you were
was
just
building, and I was
terrified.
like, I can't deal with this.
All right, we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
I
well in
look
the
forward to
meantime,
it. In the meantime, yeah, we need to have like a
an
catchphrase to
official
end the
ending
show. Yeah, an official.
catchphrase. I don't think we need a catchphrase. I think it's just cool
Like,
to be like, thank you so much for watching and we'll catch you later.